What is up, guys? Today, Fortnite just confirmed that Sprites will be returning in Season 4, and I'm going to be going over everything you need to know. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, comment down below what you think of Sprites returning next season, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolvedJake, just like my channel name is, and is underneath the webcam at all times. So Fortnite put out a blog post this morning kind of confirming the Design a Sprite contest winners, and they just straight up said that Sprites are going to be back in the next Battle Royale season, which is called Override, and that Season 4 will introduce a whole new generation of Sprites to master. So the mechanic, of Sprites that we had in Season 3, it's not going anywhere. It's going to be a part of Season 4, and it's probably going to be a part of Fortnite for the foreseeable future. I think a lot of people were fans of it and a lot of people weren't fans of it, but I feel like even if you weren't a fan of it, it clearly is something that people were excited about and talked about this season, and it helped the player count be higher, especially during the power hours. So I think just like looking at things detached from how you feel, it makes sense that Sprites would continue into the next season, I think. And this means there will be new Sprites, which give new abilities, and then also new variants with unique effects next season. They also confirmed that there will be several quality of life improvement for these Sprites based on our feedback during the current season. I'm not really sure what these could be. My first guess would maybe be just not showing the Sprites on Spawn Island, because this was obviously a hot topic during the season with a lot of people upset that people would chase them and follow them off the battle bus trying to, steal their Sprite. Maybe improvements to the spawn rates of Sprites, but we kind of already saw that throughout Season 3, where they started to increase the spawn rates of certain Sprites or decrease the spawn rates of certain Sprites, because for a while it seemed like if you opened a Sprite chest, you were getting a water or fire Sprite. One thing that I would like to see is we have Sprite chests all over the map, which kind of guarantee you a Sprite, right? And then we also have those key rooms and vaults, which have Sprite chests inside. I think the key rooms and vaults should have like special Sprite chests with like a better chance of actually having something be good, or just make it, better for those, ways. I think opening a vault and getting a few water Sprites was just pretty disappointing. There also will be new ways to discover Sprites in and out of game. Who knows what this will mean. In the past, we've had like Twitch drops give certain things, or we've had, linking your Disney account to your Epic account gave you the Stormtrooper skin, so maybe there will be some sort of tie-in to give you a Sprite, watching streams to give you Sprite, or just other game modes where you can get Sprites, like how Reload had the John Wick Sprite. Having things like that, encourage people to play other game modes inside of the Fortnite ecosystem just kind of makes sense, I think. And the Sprites that you collected during Season 3, they won't just completely disappear. This will be something that you can still see and interact with in the new Sprite Garden. So this basically sounds like it's just going to be a social space. It's like a separate game mode or a separate hub where you will be able to go in there and see your Sprites that you've collected, interact with them, and show them off to your friends. And other people will be able to kind of visit your garden, and you will be able to visit other people's Sprite gardens and kind of see their collection. Not really too sure how the customizability will be on this, but I think it would make a lot of sense if you can kind of customize your garden to your liking, and as you collect new Sprites in Season 4, they will immediately be added to your garden. So these Sprites from Season 3, they're not going to be usable in BR most likely, but you still will be able to see them in this new Sprite Garden. The Sprite Garden is a separate mode from Battle Royale. They did say that, Sprites from past generations may return at some point down the line, and this makes a lot of sense. So basically think of it like the Fortnite loot pool. Usually when a new season comes, we get a lot of new weapons that kind of replace the old ones. And then after some time, the old ones can get unvaulted and returned to the loot pool. That's basically how Sprites could work. So this season, for example, we had the Ranger pistol return for the first time since Chapter 5. We had the Warforged AR return. These items hadn't been in the game in some time. They were in the vault, but now they came back and they're usable again. Sprites could be something like that as well. Next season, all the Sprites we had during Season 3 will get vaulted, but maybe several seasons down the line, or even at some point during next season, maybe the 0-point Sprite would return into the loot pool, or the Ghost Sprite would return into the loot pool. That would be something that would make sense for Fortnitemares, right? Like, the Sprites are basically going to be a new type of loot, which can kind of come and go out of the Fortnite loot pool. And I think this just naturally makes a lot of sense. If you've been playing Fortnite for a while, you're probably used to items kind of coming and going, and Sprites, will be the same way. And so Season 4 will have several new original sprites, but it will also feature the winners from the Design a Sprite contest as well. So there was 5 winners that were announced today. The first is going to be the Bullet Sprite. The effect the author gave to this was ammo boxes grant slightly more ammo. The Dumpster Dive Sprite, you will get loot from jumping into dumpsters. The Honey Sprite, when you take damage, the sprite unleashes some bees to attack the person dealing damage to you for small amounts of damage. The Pond Sprite makes you swim faster, and then at the max level, you will get increased jump height and fall damage reduction. This sounds a lot like the Air Sprite, but these contest entries were made before that was even added. It was like earlier on in the season. And then finally, the X-Ray Sprite reveals players through walls and other objects. Sounds super overpowered, but scanning is something that we are used to inside of Fortnite, and there's been several ways that, NPCs or items that do scan the area. And these may or may not be the effects. I'm not entirely sure on the contest winners how it's going to go. People were able to design the look of a sprite. I'm not too sure if they were able to pick the effect, but the authors themselves did write those effects that I just said. And so maybe those will be the effects, but I also wouldn't be too surprised if Fortnite changes them in some way or like kind of rebalances them. So those sprites will be in the next season. Not too sure if those are 100% going to be the effects. They also said that gizmos and sprite dust will reset once season 3 ends. That just completely makes sense. In the past, when we had gold, that would be something that typically reset season to season as well. And personally, I don't think sprites returning is a bad thing. I know the community right now, I feel like at least the vocal parts of it are mostly negative on sprites and people kind of being burnt out on them and not being the happiest with how like the content rollout was for the season. That's kind of the standpoint that I kind of see the most merit in, is the way content was rolled out this season was not the greatest. But that is a knock against how they chose to do it. The concept of sprites, I feel like, is independent of that. We could have sprites in the loot pool and have them be a part of the game and not have it be everything. And I talked about this in yesterday's video, but I think the biggest problem with how content was rolled out this season was the weeks where we only got variant sprites added to the loot pool. That doesn't really do anything. So this week we got the gem sprites. If you really like collecting sprites, maybe you're excited to get on and play. But if you're someone like me who just, cares about the gameplay, this doesn't really change things up for you too much. And so this week, it's basically like there was no update. And there's been a few weeks like that throughout the course of the season, if I remember correctly. And I think that's the biggest problem. I don't think having, sprites is a problem. I don't think having variant sprites is a problem. But having variant sprites be the only content for a week is kind of unfortunate. So I think if they set things up better, and like let's just say the weeks where variants got added, they also added a new weapon or a map change or something, then it wouldn't be as detrimental. Like the problem I think came in when variants were the only content for a week. Adding base sprites to the loot pool, I do think is something that kind of counts as content and does refresh the game for someone like me who's more gameplay oriented. The unfortunate aspect of that was, the balance of the sprites wasn't the greatest, and so oftentimes there would be ones that came in that just weren't that good. But that also isn't something new. There's always been times in Fortnite where they add a weapon and it's like, it's kind of so niche that it's not really good, The meme is that, like, towards the end of the season, they always add the big bush bomb, the med mist, or the crash pads. Like, them adding kind of things that don't really affect the game isn't really a new concept. It's been going on for quite some time, so I don't think it's fair to really criticize the sprites for that themselves. But I do think, like I said, the weeks where variants were the only content, that is kind of the core problem that people should be focusing on, not the concept of sprites themselves. So I'm not too concerned about this. I know a lot of people are upset, but the FOMO doesn't really get to me. I just care about the gameplay, and I think sprites being a part of the gameplay isn't the worst thing if they do the content rollout decently well. I also saw this today. Fire Monkey posted a list of leftover or unused sprites in Chapter 7 Season 3. This is things that are in the game files that didn't end up coming out. So this might be some sprites that we end up seeing next season, or maybe they're just completely cut. So the Ammo Hoarder, a percentage of ammo is returned to the reserve when reloading. The Midas Splash, looted containers have a chance to splash Gold Rush onto the player. This makes you move faster and gives you unlimited sprint for a period of time. Danger Rush, this was from the Brand New Day Spider-Man. Since targets that are aiming at you, that sounds like it could be pretty good. The Greed Boon, your squad receives extra gold bars from containers and eliminations. Haunted Helpers, slowly reload ammo into your equipped AR or LMG weapon. I think that could be quite good of an effect. if it wasn't exclusive to LMGs or ARs, and depending on the speed. It sounds kind of like the Night Rose medallion from Chapter 6 Season 1, but that would have been really good this season, probably with the Ranger pistol having a low mag capacity, and then maybe the extended focus shotgun. If you could get 4 shots instead of 3 before reloading, that could be, could have been really good. Rift and Ready, your squad has a chance to spawn a rift nearby at each storm phase. Trophy Cache grants a small chance to find the Trophy Catch mythic goldfish and loot containers. Shrapnel explosives, now with more shrapnel bonus damage applied to explosives. Stormcaller boon, you and your squad nearby replenish shields in the storm. One man's trash, a chance to find stink bombs when opening ammo boxes, jumping in containers. And then doubles extraction points, Sprite dust when extract. That's a variant. So it sounds like the gummy variant, honestly, where you get bonus extraction dust. So like I said, those were just some leftover effects. None of them sound like that great, to be honest, and that's probably why they were left over. But maybe we see a chance of one of those being one of the sprites next season, or something similar to those next season. So that is what you need to know about sprites. They're going to be back next season. We're getting an entire new roster of sprites next season. You'll be able to look at your sprites permanently in the sprite garden. And so these sprites you collect throughout Fortnite season aren't all a waste. And we may see sprites returning at some point in the future, at least like the base sprites themselves returning. So like the water, fire, earth, that probably won't be in the loot pool next season, but maybe at some point down the line it returns. So let me know what you guys think of that and what you think of sprites returning. Also, what you would change to sprites if you had the kind of decision-making ability, like what you like or don't like about them and what you would change. That is going to be it for this, though. Sorry, my room is much darker than normal when recording this. I don't have as many lights on because I have a really bad headache, and then the lights, make all that worse. So it looks darker than normal, but that is just, for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.